you guys. In this video, we will be talking about autism combined with circumcision. So let's hear RFJK run his mouth about his opinion on this, and I'll come back with my commentary.
There's also many other confirmation studies. There's 2 studies that show children who are circumcised early have double the rate of autism. It's highly likely because they're given Tylenol. So, none of this is dispositive, but all of it is stuff that we should be paying attention to.
Yeah.
But, there's a tremendous amount of proof or evidence, I would say, as a non-doctor, but I've studied this a long time ago. I met Bob.
There's 2 studies that show children who are circumcised early have double the rate of autism. It's highly likely because they're given Tylenol. So, none of this is dispositive, but all of it is stuff that we should be paying attention to.
Hi, my name is Dr. Rubin, and yet again, RFK Jr. is misleading the public about autism spectrum disorder. There's only one study I could find that looked into that particular question. In a Danish cohort of about 300,000 children, there was a little over 1,000 cases of autism that were reported in that cohort, and they found that those that were circumcised were more likely to have a diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder later in life. That 2 times risk was only in a subgroup in the analysis, looking at specifically those diagnosed before the age of 5. But they did not adjust for confounding factors that are very significant, like genetics, parental psychiatric history, cultural practices, which may change how people will seek medical care, a lot of different issues that weren't looked into. In addition, his claim saying that, well, they used Tylenol for these circumcisions, that wasn't investigated in the study. You can't make that assumption. They didn't actually look into acetaminophen use during the procedure. So again, he's saying things that are cherry-picking little bits of information, lying and distorting reality to try to scare and confuse people into believing what he wants you to believe.
See, now, what I personally want to know is how the fuck did we get here? Huh? Hi everyone, if you're new, welcome. If you're not, you know what fucking time it is, bitch. It's time for the Daily Scream. Yeah, so we've officially lost the plot. RFK Jr. decided to say at this week's cabinet meeting, with his whole chest, mind you, that boys who have been circumcised are twice as likely to be diagnosed with autism because they were given Tylenol. I'm sorry, but I can't say it with a straight face. There's just are you kidding me? I literally, I can't do this today. I cannot do this today. He literally told Trump, quote, there are 2 studies showing circumcised children having double the rate of autism. It's highly likely because they were given Tylenol. Now, one of those studies is from Denmark in 2015. And yes, it found a correlation between circumcision and autism. But the study never even measured Tylenol use. Not once. That's like if I were to be umbrellas cause rain because rain and umbrellas show up at the same fucking time. And the other study from Ireland in 2024, it actually showed that boys with autism showed improvements in sensory issues and irritability after the procedure. So the evidence literally does the opposite of what RFK Jr. is saying. Meanwhile, Trump's sitting there nodding yep, makes sense. Just tough it out, ladies. He literally told pregnant individuals, and I quote, don't take Tylenol, tough it out. Right, because people should be taking health expertise from a man who looks like a clogged Arby's fried grease pipe with a history of sexual assault. So, just to recap, the US government is warning about circumcision, Tylenol, and autism based on 2 studies that prove absolutely nothing. Actual doctors are saying Tylenol is still safe if used responsibly. So if you're pregnant, listen to your OBGYN, not some worm-filled brain geriatric. And if any man decides to tell you Tylenol causes autism, don't take it. Send them a bib and a pacifier because they're little baby bitches. And might I also suggest kicking them directly in the cojones and then telling them to tough it out.
Okay, so if you wanted to see something that was actually pretty funny today, to take your mind off of all the over-the-top, depressing, cataclysmic stuff that our ridiculously stupid president and all of his sycophants are doing right now, RFK and Trump were talking to the press, and they were talking about autism and what could be correlated with causing autism at a higher rate and things of that nature. And RFK goes on this tangent out of nowhere about circumcision possibly correlating with autism, and that kids who were circumcised, they were almost twice as likely to be diagnosed with autism. And obviously that's from a deeply flawed study from like 2015. But here's the clip of RFK talking about that.
There's also many other confirmation studies. There's 2 studies that show children who are circumcised early have double the rate of autism. It's highly likely because they're given Tylenol. So, none of this is just positive, but all of it is stuff that we should be paying attention to.
Yeah. But, there's a tremendous amount of proof or evidence, I would say, as a non-doctor, but I've studied this a long time ago. I met Bob.
So like I said already, totally flawed study, nothing credible whatsoever, total quack science from RFK and Trump once again, but it is ridiculously comical how Trump's like, yeah, we've been looking into it for a long time. I'm not a doctor or anything, but we've been looking into it for a long time. Like seriously, like you're really gonna act like you've been looking into the rates of circumcision in young boys and how they correlate with whether they end up developing autism or being diagnosed with autism or not? Like, get the fuck out of here. RFK hasn't been studying this all the time. You haven't been studying this all the time. You guys are just throwing quack science off the wall with the Tylenol, the circumcision. None of them have actual strong foundations in science in any way. They just have quack studies that are completely disprovable or completely flawed and aren't actually credible that back them up. So it's total nonsense. And if Donald Trump was studying anything in young boys or girls, it definitely wouldn't be circumcision and whether it correlates to autism.
Okay, I'm back. So as you guys saw in the beginning of the video, that RJF, whatever his damn name abbreviated is, said that a boy gets circumcised as a child can cause autism. What? Excuse me? Come on, I gotta laugh at this. This is crazy what this man is saying. Okay, so he said this at a cabinet meeting last year. Okay, now this is just getting around. And I just can't believe he would open up his mouth and say such ignorant statements about little boys having circumcision and autism. Tylenol, this is where you come in. Why haven't you sued yet? Why? He is defaming you. Okay? I don't know what Tylenol did to piss off the administration. Whatever y'all did, you need to apologize so he'll stop saying Tylenol causes autism. Don't take Tylenol. Pregnant women, don't do this, don't do that. Tylenol, y'all need to do something. Because I'm tired of this man bringing y'all up in every conversation. Because this is getting out of hand. My first son, he got circumcised as a newborn. He didn't take Tylenol at all. They didn't give him none for pain. But my second son, he got circumcised. Well, you can still say he's a newborn, but he's about a month old. And they gave him Tylenol for pain. My oldest doesn't have autism at all. He's fine. He's hitting every milestone you can think of. Now I just gotta wait and see, but I don't think that Tylenol causes autism at all. I think that's a bunch of bull crap that he's trying to spill to scare people. I think this is a money grab and to get take Tylenol out of business. This is who's taking this man seriously? Literally who? Because you have to look at parents' past history. I guess that's genetics. You got to look at the internal stuff that could go wrong inside. Because they did do a Danish study back in 2015 that said there is a link between circumcision and autism, but they did not, how can I say this? They did not factor in genetics, right? What links and the family medical history, who had autism, because autism is not inherited. You can't, you just cannot get autism from having circumcision. I'm sorry. You can't. Because all the men walking around on this planet will have it. Literally. This man is putting anything about his ass to try to sound smart. He, I bet anything he's circumcised. Why wouldn't he not be circumcised? So he's saying he had autism, right? So they don't want parents to go around getting their sons foreskin, because there's foreskin on the penis, right? That a male is born with, and it covers the whole head. So you cut that foreskin so it will reveal the head, right? And the glands, whatever. This, now he's trying to say, we don't need circumcision. Let's ban it. Yo, you can't make this up. You cannot make this up. I'm glad we haven't heard from this man in a long, long time. But I'm sorry. You're just not going to get rid of autism. You're just not. No matter what you do, you're just not. So you might as well just give up, listen to the scientists when they're telling you that you're wrong. Okay, it's proved scientific. Tylenol don't cause autism. I took it. My kids are fine. I don't know what's going on with this man. I don't know. So we'll see. We're going to see if your leg causes autism. Your neck causes autism. We'll see, you guys. We'll see what he comes up on this crusade of autism. But hell, what do I know? I'm just a talking head.
This is what RFK had to say at a presidential cabinet meeting today. You're not gonna fucking believe it.
There's 2 studies that show children who are circumcised early have double the rate of autism. It's highly likely because they're given Tylenol. Oh, none of this is dispositive, but all of it is stuff that we should be paying attention to.
What the fuck? What the fuck is going on? It was first, if your mother took it and you were a baby in the womb, you were gonna get the tism from taking the Tylenol, okay? Now you can still get it if you take it at any point, especially if you're a child who got snipped and then you were administered a Tylenol at the end of the procedure, then you also probably got autism from that as well. Next, he's going to come out with when you were 14 and you started your period and you took a Tylenol for your headache, you must, now you have adult autism. I don't know. This is just, the study he is sourcing has been disproven and is not accepted amongst the medical or scientific community. It was so heavily flawed that it's been rejected from the scientific community. But this is what he chooses to. My name is Mercedes Chandler. Give me a follow or you won't see my face again. Thank you. Goodbye.
As if it wasn't already bad that these motherfuckers were saying that Tylenol causes autism, now they're flocking and trying to push the idea that if you have an uncircumcised cock, you might have a higher chance of autism. Nigga, you can't make this shit up. We are actually in the darkest times. I'm sorry, we're in the darkest timeline. What do you mean that if you have a longer blanket around your Johnson at the end of your log, that you might have a higher chance of developing autism or that you have autism? Why is this nigga RFK our health director? This nigga he's just saying shit. This is like what happens when you give an unqualified nigga a job like that. This is what you get. And on top of that, he's giving you very, 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 very harmful medical advice. This doesn't help anybody. This just makes things much more harder for people. Why is he even in the office? The uncircumcised Johnsons now mean that you might have a chance of developing autism. I'm done, bro. I'm done. I can't talk anymore.
There's 2 studies that show children who are circumcised early have double the rate of autism. It's highly likely because they're given Tylenol.
Lock in, fuck niggas. We about to fact check this shit. First, if you fuck with me, check out the podcast. Let's get it. What the hell is he talking about? I don't even gotta look at the 2 studies you're talking about. I can tell you're capping. With a little bit of brain power and with a little bit of research, you too will see that RFK don't know what the hell he's talking about. Circumcision is not only a common practice, but it's also a religious practice, which is why the national rate for newborn circumcision was at 60%. I would also like to add that most circumcisions happen at an early age. In fact, research shows that 80% of men are circumcised, which I didn't know was that popular. But the CDC shows that only 3.2% of children had autism in 2022. So if what he said was true, then we would have seen more children with autism. So in other words, RFK is lying to the American people. Because seriously, who thought RFK would have been a great secretary for health?
RFK Jr. just won't leave us alone. We, the American people, are like minding our business, holding on for dear life, one sad day at a time, and then he pops up and says, 2 studies, count them, 1, 2, 2 studies show that there's a high correlation between kids who get circumcised and autism. Now, you heard me correctly. You heard me correctly. He said that there are 2 mere studies that show a high correlation between children who get circumcised and autism, and that it's likely because after they get circumcised, they're given Tylenol. Because we got to bring it back to that. Like, we're minding our business, and then they just be bothering us with this kind of stuff. So now, not only is Tylenol a problem, but circumcision is a problem because the babies are getting Tylenol for pain relief. Listen, I just report what the people say so that you guys don't have to be exposed to this madness. I take the L's for y'all so that y'all don't have to be exposed to the madness.
So, according to RFK Jr., men who are circumcised are more likely to have autism because they end up taking Tylenol.
Much to lose. Yeah, go ahead.
There's many other confirmation studies. There's 2 studies that show children who are circumcised early have double the rate of autism. It's highly likely because they're given Tylenol. Oh, none of this is dispositive, but all of it is stuff that we should be paying attention to.
But, there's a tremendous amount of proof or evidence, I would say, as a non-doctor, but I've studied this a long time ago. You know, I met Bobby in my office 20 years ago. We were talking about the same thing 20 years ago. And I was a real estate developer. It bothered me that it seemed to be getting worse, but it's so bad now when you hear these numbers. It's not even really sustainable. I don't know how people do it, but there is some very strong evidence on Tylenol. In fact, at one point, I guess the company gave a warning.
They still don't recommend it during pregnancy. That's the weird thing.
They're not recommending it, and that's the company itself.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome officially to Donald Trump's insane asylum. For all those people to be sitting there in that room and not questioning RFK about where he got that data from, it really does speak volume. I mean, it's almost like they're in there telling on themselves, all right? Because you just got to wonder, okay, so you didn't get circumcised, or is it you didn't do the Tylenol, or, you know, it just makes absolutely no sense that RFK Jr. is hell-bent on trying to convince people, especially women, that they shouldn't take Tylenol. It's sad, ladies and gentlemen, where Donald Trump and RFK Jr. are trying to brand themselves as medical professionals, and they're once again giving out inappropriate medical advice that I'm pretty confident their supporters are so gullible they'll probably believe what they're saying. Wow, wow, wow. This is an embarrassment, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm not a medical professional, all right, but I'll say this: please don't listen to the president and RFK Jr. when it comes to medical advice. Please consult your doctors, all right?